Alright, so this is part 2 of my first 2 weeks after top surgery. Please check out part 1 if you haven't seen it. It's mostly including snaps that I created during the process. This video is me just going into more detail what the first 2 weeks after top surgery was like for me and some of the things I experienced. Just sharing my story, my journey. So, here it is. So yeah, that was my journey on SNAP. I'll go into a little bit more detail. The surgeon was Dr. Nira. It was done in Red Deer, Alberta, Canada. I had surgery October 18th. It was a Friday. Got in at 8 o'clock, and I was having surgery by 10:30, 11 o'clock. 2-3 hours later, I was coming out of the surgery place. I was like 1:30. I was coming to, and my pain was under a 5 the whole time, all throughout everything, on a scale of 1 to 10, and my nausea was like, I don't think it went over a 3 or a 4. The first day, it was just a little bit of nausea coming out of the anesthesiologist. That's not the word. Anesthesia. Something like that. And it went away. I think by that night, I had felt a little bit here and there, but the next day, I don't think I felt any nausea at all. And I was thankful that I didn't have to take any pain meds, which probably would have brought on more nausea. And so, yeah, it was really smooth. I'm not moving around, and really just taking care of just everything. Just being very aware, very slow movements, and very intentional movements. I think really helped me. So that was Friday, and then spent a couple nights in a hotel, and by Saturday we drove home, which was a 4-hour drive. And yeah, I would just sleep and watch movies and TV shows, thankfully be fed delicious food by my partner, and really just took it easy. Got my drains out on that Wednesday, which is it's a whole story. Let's get into that. So getting my drains out, I just went into a walk-in clinic. The doctor that helped me, I could tell, never had done that before, and looked like they did a little bit of research before taking my drains out, and it went pretty smooth. It was kind of painful. It wasn't like, I'd say like a 5 max at within a couple seconds. And then, the pain went down to like a 2, and pretty much gone shortly after that. It went really smooth, and it was unfortunate that he didn't really know what he was doing, because the aftercare wasn't known. I just did my research on my own, and I didn't even listen to his advice. Like I said in the snaps, I had a shower with steri strips on, and I was very in tune with my body, and I was very intentional with listening to what my body was telling me, and knowing that a doctor, yes, that's a recommendation, but I am the one that is in control of my body, and I know more than anyone else does. So about my body and what my body's telling me. So of course, doing lots of research and trusting a lot of what the doctors were saying, for sure, came into play. But overall, I was intentional about listening to myself first and foremost. So in making big decisions, which leads me to what happened with my stitches on my nipples. So I was unsure of any kind of care with the nipples. I just had plain gauze over top of them. There was no extra padding or anything, and they had stitches. And my scars themselves had surgical glue holding it together, so they didn't need any care with that. But I wasn't told any instructions about the stitches on my nipples. I, was just told to get the drains out, and that was all the follow-up I was needed. And so I was under the impression they were dissolving stitches, and I even called the doctor's office, the surgeon's office, and asked, and the receptionist said that Dr. Nira usually uses dissolving, so I shouldn't have to worry, but they'll get back to me if need be. So I trusted them, and they never got back to me, so I was intending that they were dissolving. And around week 3, it was just before week 3, I was listening to my body and realized that the stitches were not dissolving, and that my body was wanting them out. They were ready. They didn't need to be in there anymore. So I took my stitches out myself, and I'm pretty sure, because it took so long for me to determine that is why one of my nipples is kind of like inverted. I'll most likely be having pictures showing this in a later video, so stay tuned to that, or check it out if you're watching this later in time. But yeah, it's a little unfortunate, kind of pissed off in the sense that I wasn't warned, and I was misled, and I had to take action myself. So I would love to warn anyone else out there that, ask questions. Dr. Nira is kind of hard to understand, so very thick accent and very goofy, lots of laughs and jokes. So I didn't even think to ask about the stitches, and just trusted that they would let me know of anything that I needed to do. And very unfortunate that I had to do it myself, and it potentially has created something that might not be changeable. I don't know, but it was a bit of a task getting the stitch in right in the middle out on both sides. Around the nip was pretty easy, it just kind of was looped around, and I just cut and pulled, and it came out pretty smooth. But the nipple part, on my left side, the nipple graft was still healing, particularly in the middle. So it was kind of tricky to get around the stitch and not harm myself. And then on the right side it was pretty easy, but it's still inverted weeks later. So I think I'm just gonna have an innie and an outie for my nipples, which I find is actually pretty funny, and I'm excited that there's a very interesting story and balance with my inverted nipple. So there's the story on that. Other than that, Dr. Nira, no problems. The first couple weeks, it looked like I was gonna have dog tags, or dog ears, not dog tags, dog ears, tags, whatever. It's when the skin kind of puffs out and it just sticks out a little bit, and it can be really easily revised and removed, but I was obviously trying to avoid that. So through massaging with my rose quartz stone and just massaging with my hands and the oil, I pretty much avoided any revisions so far. So except for my inverted nipple, which I don't know if I'll ever care to go back to a doctor to see if they can change that. I personally find it funny and interesting, and I'm curious to see if anything else will happen with it, if eventually it'll pop out or not. Who knows? So yeah, no other problems though with Dr. Nira. It was all paid for by Alberta Healthcare, which is something I never talked about, and something I'm very, very, very thankful for. I actually have parents that were able to cover the cost of surgery, and when I went in for the consultation, I found out that Alberta Healthcare completely covers it. So I was very thankful for that. and thankful that I had parents that were able to cover the cost. That's something that I know there's so many people that aren't fortunate like that, like I am, with funding for top surgery. And kudos to all of you that earn everything and raise money for yourselves. And yeah, wow, that's really amazing. And so that's definitely something that um, I'm intentional with being very, very thankful for, to have no limitations financially with getting my top surgery. So that's pretty cool. So while reviewing my video and editing it, I realized that I didn't talk about the drain problem that I had on the left side. It was like after the first day or two, and what had happened was it just got clogged. So once we realized that there was an issue, it kind of was spilling over. You could see some blood on the inside of the gauze. You could see it from the outside. It wasn't like leaking out, but we could tell that there was some sort of leakage. And we realized the drain wasn't draining properly, so we really just suctioned it out, and we realized there was a clog, and, well, my partner did all of it. I mean, I was there holding some of it, but yeah, it was really easy, and the problem went away right away, and it stopped bleeding, and we never got the gauze changed out. I was thinking that it would be good to get a clean one, but it just didn't really need to happen. I'm someone that prefers to do everything myself, so I wasn't interested in going back just to get it checked out. I mean, it definitely recommend getting it checked out, and we almost did. Honestly, like, I remember we called the hospital, and I think it was actually a medical center, not a hospital, but we called, and I don't even think they got back to us. And then the next day we were leaving, so it was just not, it just didn't really seem to be a huge issue. The drain was properly draining, and there was no more extra blood. It wasn't really sore or anything, so I wasn't scared of any sort of infection. And yeah, it was just a few days, or actually a couple days, because that Wednesday, that was the Saturday it started doing, and then, or showed, the blood showed, and then by Wednesday, I was getting drains out and new bandage, so it wasn't an issue, but I thought I'd share that had happened. After surgery, I never wore a compression binder. I was never told to, and I had done research, but honestly, after the first couple days, I forgot about it, and I was taking really good care of myself, and so I did some research. I panicked a little bit after like day 4 or 5, and I realized I hadn't been wearing a compression binder at all, and all I've ever heard online was that all these other people had worn a binder. So I was kind of concerned if that was going to cause any issues, but most of my research, it was the main reason that surgeons recommend using a compression binder after is to keep it all more protected, and to remind you that this area is tender, as well as to help it all push flat and heal flat, which I don't have any issues whatsoever. Everything healed really well. I was very intentional. I have this, it was a little roller, and it was a rose quartz roller, so I would just roll it over my scars and over just my chest and everywhere, as it healed, as I felt like it was able to handle that. And I've had no issues. I never put a binder on at all, so that's my journey with that. Not a lot of people I've heard about not wearing compression binders, so I was really concerned, but I am happy to confirm that I had no issues without wearing one. It could have to do with my specific situation and the surgeon deciding that it wasn't necessary for me. I had a friend that told me that some surgeons don't use one or don't recommend one. So my main focus is after surgery were to really just heal and to get proper hydration and proper food and nutrients into my body. I was very intentional with the foods that I was eating, making sure it was as fresh and nutrient filled as it could be, as well as, you know, drinking lots and lots of water. And my main painkillers were weed candies. Thankful that weed is legal in Canada now, so I was able to ingest edibles. I was not smoking any weed. I made sure just to quit smoking a good couple weeks before, to give my lungs healing, give my lungs, you know, the best time to heal and to, you know, just be able to fully function. Chest surgery, you know, there's a lot going on in the chest, and breathing, so I, you know, was very intentional with letting my body, you know, do what it needed to do and not smoking. So I was ingesting edibles, weed candies, and cookies, and that helped tremendously. I didn't need to take any pain meds for the first 4 or 5 days, and when I did take them, it wasn't really for pain, it was for irritation more so. I felt like at the end of the day, you know, more in the evening, I was just kind of getting this like irritated feeling of just being like stuck in the same position and not really being able to move a whole lot. So the painkillers just kind of helped alleviate the kind of soreness and just like overall irritation that I was having in general. Kind of just took the edge off things. And so I took there was 2 different painkillers, and there was the lesser one. I think it was just acetaminophen, a strong dose, and that's all I needed to take. You know, it was probably no more than, you know, 6 or 7 times overall. Weed candies really helped, and I believe the proper nutrients and hydration really helped healing and pain management as well. And of course, resting just as much as possible. I slept on my back. It wasn't until around week 3 or 4 when I was more dabbling with being able to go on my side for a couple minutes at a time. So I was laying on my back the whole time. Knees underneath the pillow really helped. And the first couple nights I was propped up on pillows. That was the way I slept, and I was, you know, I found a really comfy way to do that, and it worked out really well. And yeah, I mostly just watched TV. Really didn't move my arms a whole lot. I would get tired if I was like texting or like, you know, having to move my arm. Like texting wasn't bad, but like, you know, if I was moving things, that it was just any kind of movement was just really tiring. So the less movement, less getting up that I could do, the better. And yeah, just more energy I had not doing that. I did feel a little restless at some points. The beginning, the first like week almost was really good. I mean, honestly, the first 4 or 5 days, it was really easy to just relax and do nothing. And, you know, as time went on, you know, the week 1 and by the end of week 2, I was getting pretty restless, ready to do more and stretch my body and move around and, you know, wear shirts that showed I had a flat chest and, you know, just be more productive. So that became a little bit of a struggle to just keep on the healing train and not moving. But I believe, you know, as you feel better, it's good to do more as well and get your body back into the rhythm of things. So it worked out pretty well. And by week 2, my partner had to travel, so I was alone. Yeah, it was just before week 2, so I was able to go through, you know, week 3, week 4 all by myself, and I'll talk about that in a later video. But it really did help having someone with me to just fill up my water and get me, like, making me food was probably the biggest thing. That once they left, it was so draining to just stand and even just like heat up soup and bring it back to my seat. So really helped having somebody just, you know, to get me random things here and there, you know, that were out of my reach, or you know, like I said, refilling water. or even like massaging my feet and stuff like that. That was very, very beneficial to have just that extra hand that could do things for me. I also use compression socks most of the time, and getting those on and off, I don't think I would have been able to do that by myself within the first 2 weeks. So it was really nice having my partner help me with that, as well as getting dressed. And the bathroom, using the bathroom, I thought it was going to be more difficult to wipe, but I had no issues. I was able to do it myself the whole time. The first few days it was nice to get toilet paper handed to me instead of having to like twist and, you know, move around that way. But yeah, other than that, you know, pulling out my pants and stuff, like I was able to do it myself, but it just made it a lot easier to get help from my partner. I'll be going into more detail about the supplements that I took, the foods that I was eating that had proper nutrients, and the painkillers that I was prescribed. I'll go into more details about that and things to prepare for before and after surgery. So, other than watching TV and sleeping, I was also massaging my chest. After week 1, probably around week 2 is when I started. I used a concoction of coconut oil, fractionated coconut oil, lavender essential oil, and vitamin E liquid form. And I was using that. I just mixed it all together into a little container, and then I would massage that into my scars and use that rose quartz roller like I was talking about before. And that was really nice. That was probably the best thing when I was feeling really restless and like wanting to do something. I would just focus on massaging my chest, massaging my scars, and rubbing that oil in. And while I was watching TV, that really just kind of separated the anxiety of not doing anything. It was like, oh, I'm productively taking care of myself, and I was able to get lost in doing that as well as watching what I was watching. So yeah, as well as taking like periodic drinking lots of water breaks. That was something that's, you know, I really was intentional with. I have a very expensive water ionizer that does more than just that I won't get into, but I am still always very thankful to receive that kind of water that is filtered and the proper pH, so my body can actually be properly hydrated. Very thankful for that, and I think that has contributed a lot to how fast I healed, which I won't go into where I'm at now, but stay tuned to later videos on comparison videos as well, and just more updates on week 3 to 8. Another thing that helped was when I went up, when I had to get up, I would stretch a little bit more than just getting up. Like I would kind of, you know, do a couple squats and really try to stretch as much as I could. Also, a little tip that took me a few times to learn: my phone, when I was laying down in bed, and you know, I was laying in the recliner as well, so I was pretty flat, and I would be on my phone and I'd be holding it right over my chest. There was more times than I'd like to admit that I accidentally dropped it, and it dropped on my chest, and it wasn't like extremely painful, but it did kind of hurt, and I kept trying to learn that lesson, and it took me a long time to really remember to hold on to it properly. I eventually just recently got one of those little holders to hold on to it. Highly recommend doing that if you're on your phone a lot before surgery, because yeah, I dropped my phone way too many times, and I would love to teach that lesson to somebody else. Hopefully you can do it better than I did. So yeah, that's my journey, the first 2 weeks on top surgery. Remember to love, help, and grow. Thank you for taking the time. Much love. Peace.